I'm Justin Zaza, and this is my masterclass. Now, what prompts this is that I'm sick of everybody else's masterclasses. All these so-called successes like Martin Scorsese or Neil Gaiman or Ron Howard. I've watched their masterclasses, and they're terrible teachers. So I think I could probably do better than them, and I know I am better than them. Martin Scorsese, has no real vision. He's just really just like an observer. Ron Howard really has nothing. No offense to him. I mean, he's made some good movies. Neil Gaiman's kind of cool, but he's really, again, he has no vision, just like Martin Scorsese. He's more creative, but these are not people that are like profound. But I am profound. And this is actually a love letter to myself. So I'm going to put pictures of myself up so I can look at this in the years to come. And, it's funny because the expression vanity project, that's a vanity project. Everything's a vanity project. Great art is not made for the masses. It's made for the individual. A person writes a book for themselves, not for anybody else. And it's very common that an artist will die and without any recognition at all, and then he'll get acclaimed later on. What's his name? Kafka. He wanted all of his books to be burned after he died, and his sister declined. She published them anyways. We only know about Kafka because his sister didn't respect his wishes when he died. So that's my first golden nugget of wisdom is write for yourself. Always. Otherwise, don't be a writer. Don't be an artist if you're not doing it for yourself. And who is this lovely person that I'm looking at? Oh, wait a minute. It's me from 10 years ago. I love you. Sorry, I was a bit speechless for my love of myself. But I often say, you know what? Look back to when you were like 20 and ask yourself, what would he think of what you've become? And are you doing what he would want you to do? Because the little Justin from 20, that little Justin you're looking at right now, he would be like, oh yeah, you should do this, Justin, from 20 years from now. Okay, well, you know what? Even though I've matured past that, I'm going to do it anyways just to make you happy. If that makes any sense, it makes a lot of sense to me. I guess the first thing about writing or being an artist is don't do it if you're seeking money or fame or women, because you're not going to get any of those things. There's easier ways to get those things. You do it because you actually have a soul. So you don't get into this shit for money and fame. You do this for perfection because you have a need to you strive towards achieving perfection. You're obsessed with perfection. That's why you do this. I knew a guy who was a screenwriter, and he had an agent and everything, and he would compromise and compromise and compromise. He wrote a book, I think it was a screenplay called The Mexican, and after the whole screenplay, they said after like they put his book in limbo, and then they say, well, we want you to change we want you to change the fucking title to The American. And he's like, well, that defeats the whole point of the whole thing. But he conceded. And why would you even get into this business if you're going to just like concede and then they option your book or your screenplay and they put it in a fucking closet for 20 years. That's not why you become a writer. You become a writer, you become an artist to express yourself, not to make money. See, because this douchebag, his idea was that he's going to live in Malibu and have like a pool with beautiful women in bikinis. He's going to like make it. That's not why you get into this. So the first lesson in being a writer is that, by the way, I'm going to do another masterclass on how to write music. But for now, we're going to concentrate on writing. The first lesson is don't get into it if you're not willing to like devote your entire life to it. Like, you want to be like somebody like Stephen King, who's a piece of shit, who basically all he gets, his only contribution to humanity is that he has pop culture references. That's not worth anything. That's horrible. Stephen King is a huge failure, in my opinion. And if you don't agree with me, then don't follow this. Don't stop right now. Okay, a real artist is obsessed with perfection, and I can illustrate this with the following anecdote. I have severe anxiety, and somebody once asked me. They asks, why do you have anxiety? And I said, because I'm obsessed with perfection. I need everything to be perfect, which I think is what art is. Art is perfection. It's aspiration towards perfection. Being an artist, and and then I read a quote by T.S. Eliot where he says, anxiety is the handmaiden of creativity. And I was like, okay, I was right. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. When you're an artist, you eat, sleep, and breathe. Like, I dream about my books. It's not, I'm not just writing when I'm writing. I'm writing when I'm sleeping. I'm writing when I'm petting my cat. And these hacks that want to be writers, you're not going to be a writer if you're not going to go full on, like jump off the cliff. And most people are cowards, so you suck. You're not going to be a great writer. I will get into the craft of writing, but first, these are the preliminaries. So just wade through this because this is valuable shit. So some douchebag that I used to work with, complete moron, calls me on the phone and he goes, I want to have coffee with you. I want to talk about something with you. So I meet up with him and he goes, I want to tell a story of my life. I want to write an autobiography. This moron, like a complete idiot who's like, nobody wants to know his life story. And he's like, okay, I went through this and I came here from Lithuania or wherever the hell he came from. And he goes, so do you want to write it with me? And I'm like, well, first we're going to have to talk about how much you want to pay me and like blah, blah, blah. And he goes, pay you? I thought you were going to like do this for free and we would split the profit. And I'm like, what? You think that I go, dude, I have lots of ideas. I don't have a shortage of ideas. I don't want to like fucking help you write your autobiography. This illustrates a number of things. First of all, the fact that he has so little respect for writers that he thinks that they're just going to like write anything and that they're just like garbage, I guess. Secondly, that like I don't have enough ideas. And secondly, though, that he thinks his life is that interesting. That he thinks his life is more interesting than other people's lives. Everybody's life is interesting. Everybody has a novel in them. The disrespect of that was just... and the point that I'm making is that nobody has any respect for art. But art is a vocation, and it's actually the highest thing of all. And you don't just doodle. You don't just fucking half-ass it. Like, it's a whole life. And you give up everything for it. So, yeah, that's the first lesson. And basically everything that I've been saying so far of my masterclass is that don't do it if you don't want to sacrifice everything. Don't have a kid. Don't get married. Because this is going to take up everything. Yeah, okay, so that's the end of the first lesson. Just fucking don't do it unless you're prepared to sacrifice everything. And you're not going to get girls. You're not going to get money. You're not going to get anything. You're going to get the satisfaction of creating perfection. That's what you should be after. And if you're not, then you're just going to be a douchebag like Stephen King, who is basically going to be forgotten. He's a worthless human being. And all he does is pop culture movies that will be dated. They'll get old. This is not why you become a writer. Do you really want to be Stephen King? I mean, if you want to be Danielle Steele or Stephen King, then go elsewhere. This is not about this. That's not about that. That's not about how to be successful as a writer. This is how to be a good writer, not financially successful or popular. You'll never be popular or success. You shouldn't be looking for that. Goethe, of course, nobody's heard of him. Nietzsche based his Superman on Goethe. He said art is not for the masses, it's for the individual. Anybody who writes art for the masses is in error. And exactly, right. You don't get into this. Fuck off. Seriously. You don't get into anything because you think you're going to get famous or rich or get women. That's pathetic. You don't learn karate because you think you're going to get accepted by people. If that was the original cause, then that's fine. But there comes a point where you actually love the thing and you don't really care whether people like it or not. You just love the craft. And that's when you achieve mastery. And this is a master class. This is about how to be a master, not how to get famous. Okay, so my second lesson, the first lesson was don't be a writer. The second lesson is judgment call. Okay, so if you're going to be an artist, you're making a judgment call just by making art. You're believing that your idea is right, even if everybody else thinks that it's shit. Like, okay, so here's an anecdote. This girl I knew, Suzanne, she was like, "Oh, I love your book. Your book sounds so good. Tell me it." This is while I was writing it. And I'm like, "Okay, you really want it? Like, it's not ready." So I don't care. She goes, "I don't care. Just send it to me. Like, it sounds so amazing." Then I send it to her, and I don't hear from her for 6 months. And I started getting annoyed about it. And I mentioned that I'm annoyed about it. And I guess we had a fight about something. And she goes, "You know why I didn't write back? Because your book was so bad. It was so bad." Now, first of all, I told her it wasn't ready. Secondly, I don't know what secondly is, but thirdly is, tell me why it was bad. Oh, the secondly was that you can't critique something that's not done yet. Like, it's not ready to be reviewed. I'm still in the process of writing it, and you're already telling me it's bad. When I wrote my first book, Men Are All Murderers and Women Are All Whores, my friend said, "You can't use that title. That's terrible." And he kept saying that the whole time that I was writing the book. And then finally he said, "You know what? I think that's the perfect title. I think that's actually exactly right." And, and I had a girl, she read my book, Men Are All Murders, Women Are All Whores, and she goes, "I'm offended. I was offended at first, but then I'm like really happy with the title." So again, judgment call. Like, you have to make a judgment call. Like, this, I know that this is right, even though everybody might not like it. You got to take a chance. And then when I was writing my book, Why Can't I Be Normal? I wanted somebody to edit it, so I went on Google and I offered $100 for somebody to edit it. And the whoever the hell that was, she reads like 2 chapters and she goes, "First of all, you shouldn't be repeating the same word all the time." And so she starts like lecturing me about like whatever she's been lectured about. I'm like, but she did not understand that I was intentionally doing that. So she should have at least given me the trust of like, just get through it and maybe you'll see that it was intentional. And so the overall lesson here is, you have to make a lot of judgment calls as a writer. You can't listen to what other people think because they could easily be wrong. And you don't get into writing, again, hearkening back to my first lesson, you don't do this to get accepted. You do this because you believe that what you're doing is, you have a belief of your own. My final lesson is my actual writing process. So, I was sitting in a bar one day and I thought, what a great idea. Why Can't I Be Normal? What a great title for a book. Like, I start at the title. Why Can't I Be Normal? And then I thought to myself, okay, so it's about a guy who wants to be normal so badly that he becomes increasingly weird. And I'm like, that's a book. So I start from there. And then I make notes, and then I look over the notes, and I elaborate as I go. So every day I just like add to the notes. I elaborate as much as I can. And I spend a lot of time in pre-production, meaning that I don't actually write the book. I spend so much time thinking about it, thinking about the idea of it. And then it just like, it sort of writes itself. And what I do is I just edit the fucking notes every day. And I just I go through it over and over again. There's a lot of organization involved. Over and over again, every day. And basically, if you just do 2 hours a day, with everything that I've said so far, if you do 2 hours a day, you're going to have a great fucking book on your hands. My current book, When I Go to Hell, is what it's called. About a guy who is paving a road to heaven. What you do is I just try to do like as many notes as I can. I just go over it and over it every day. And eventually it'll just be done. 2 hours a day. That's all. I think that I'm not going to tell anybody how to write something. You just write it. There's no right or incorrect way to write something. But the most important thing is that you're there for the right reason, which I've already outlined. And the important thing for me is that it works. For me, it works. Even if you're only like fucking correcting grammar, you spend 2 hours a day on your book, and it's going to be incredible. Because it also like leads into your normal life, like where you're thinking about it, you're dreaming about it all the time, and you're obsessing about it. I mean, the masterclass on fucking writing is you have to be obsessed with what you're doing. I mean, you should be dreaming about your book. You should be dreaming about what you're doing. Like, you should be so obsessed with it that it just takes over your whole life. And if you can't do that, then why bother? Just be an accountant or something. Accountant. I guess the other thing is that the more progress you make, the more scary it gets, because it gets more complicated. It's like writing an essay in high school where you've been up 24 hours working on this essay, and at the end of the day, you don't even know if it's any good. I always say, by the time I'm finished a book, I'm like, I hate it, but I know it's good. I hate it because I've been over it a million times. Like, I never want to revisit it. I despise it, but I know it's good. I'm extremely blown away by my current book and how I actually think it's like the best book ever written. I expect to go down in history as the greatest writer who ever lived. It's that good. And if you're not thinking like that, then don't write, I guess. You should be like really inspired by whatever you're writing. And 2 hours a day, I just go through my list. I revise all the time, all my notes. I haven't even started writing the thing. This is all pre-production. Just keep going through it, and eventually it turns into gold. I mean, that's been my experience. You just keep going through it, and it will turn into gold eventually. Over and over again, let it, let it pervade your thoughts. Let it leak into your daily life. Become your book. And, that's the way it works. Wow, this is the most amazing masterclass I've ever heard. The other thing is a little anecdote from the Buddha, Da Buddha. One dude is meditating like 24 hours a day. The other dude is meditating 2 hours a day. The dude who meditates fucking 2 hours a day is getting enlightened faster than the guy who's meditating 24 hours a day. So dude who's meditating 24 hours a day, he goes, this isn't fair. Why is he getting enlightened faster than me? I'm putting more work in than he is. And the Buddha, whatever, his teacher says, well, that's because you have one eye on what he's doing all the time. Your eyes, he's got both of his eyes on like what he's doing. Meaning, like, fucking pay attention to what you're doing. You shouldn't be doing it to get girls. If you're doing it to get girls, then your mind's always going to be on the girls. And this just goes with everything. This is just simple shit. And you don't need a master class. I guess that's my master class, is that you don't need a master class, because if you're in there for the right reasons, it's going to work itself out. You want a pool in the backyard with girls in bikinis? Okay, well then you're not going to be a writer then. You're not going to be a good writer. You're not going to be like anything worth fucking anything. You're going to be a maggot. a piece of garbage. If you truly love writing, if you're really into it for the right reasons, then your book will write itself. There's no problem. It only becomes a problem when you're trying to manipulate and you actually don't want to write, and you're trying to find a shortcut. There's no shortcut. If you love it, you just do it, and it's wonderful. That's the secret. It's just you just have to love it, and it will be wonderful. It'll be incredible. It'll be a masterpiece. If you want to know how to make money, well, that's a totally different story. Go on Wall Street then, or something. And with that, if you support gays, click like. If you respect blacks, comment. If you think women are people too, click the notification bell. And if you care about sick children, subscribe.